Welcome back to the Authentic Human Podcast. I'm Michelle Vickers. Today is part 59 of the story of creation. That's exciting because we're getting deeper. We're getting into the good stuff now. And what's really interesting, so I had an experience, in the past 5 days that I'm going to share with you just in a minute. It's about different beings that have shown up and they're saying, like we want our say. We want to tell you. Our role in the manipulation of humanity. But I want to help you understand a little bit, because when I started doing this work more than 20 years ago, I was thrown in to experiences that, and I say thrown in, not really. The universe gave me a whole bunch of opportunities to experience a lot of beings who are participating in the manipulation. Okay. So are they bad beings? Here's the thing. They're not really bad. They're doing what they came here to do. And that's how this universe works. We also open our universe to other beings from other universes. So a lot of the beings like the reptilians and different beings that we've talked about and some ETs, right, are from other universes. There's a lot of humans who are also ETs. They're from other universes who came here to participate. Now, they're showing me it's different though, because their soul, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to correct that. So most of the humans who are here, just because the creator is correcting me, and we want to make sure that we have everything as accurately as possible, right? This is not about me. This is about them and you getting the truth that you need. And so what he's saying is, creation is this universe. The creation was about exploration. And in particular, it was more of a, well, what could happen if we gave it free will? So if we gave everyone free will, but we also gave the experience itself free will. And what he means by that is the rules here are very simple, and yet they're very clear. Okay. So in order to facilitate free will, there was an extremely in-depth exploration into what would everyone in this universe require. Okay, so what are the basic non-negotiables that every being would require for free will to be successful? Okay, and this is where the 9 fundamentals come in. This is exactly how the 9 fundamentals, I've written about all of them in Believe. Actually, they shared them with me back in 2011. And I wrote all about each one of the 9 in Believe. Okay. And so when you understand each one of them, so there's love, compassion, respect, truth, joy, purity, balance, movement, and illumination. Okay. And then, so when you understand each one of those, each one has a role in your existence. Okay. And it has nothing to do with the human mind and our emotions that we've attached to those words. It has everything to do with the fundamental universal energy that's the underlying factor. Okay. And so what happened is when humanity was created, right? We were created in alignment with the universe. We've been talking a lot about the physical aspects of that and the representations in the past few episodes. And so now what he's saying is it's understanding that alignment, okay? A lot of people think alignment is, oh, we have the same ideas, we're aligned, okay? Alignment is an understanding that you recognize another's innate beingness, their innate calling for their participation in existence. So you can see how our mental perspectives and beliefs are on the surface right now. And what the whole point of the story of creation and sharing this story is to bring a depth of awareness where the intention is to rise, right? The awareness energetically is meant to rise in you so that you embody it, it embodies you again. Okay. And what happens when the energy is involved? Okay. So when your energy is involved and your energy is now communicating with the universe. Okay. Because that's how we were created. That's how free will unfolds. That's how existence unfolds. Everything you do is energy, period. Whether you're conscious of it or not, whether you can be aware of that or not, it's still happening. So if your mind chooses to not be aware of the energy, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean it's not on. It's still on. You're still creating. So, in those moments where you're like, I'm just going to be angry and I don't really care because I'm not being conscious in this moment, your energy still is. Just because your mind is deciding to pretend that that connection isn't on in the moment, you're still on. Your energy can never be turned off. Why? Because you're an integral part of existence. You hold an aspect of universal existence that no other being in the entire universe holds. You're important. And here's the thing, our brains have a hard time wrapping around that truth because they want to understand all the parts of it. But you can't understand it if you're using human physical words, research, and learning. It doesn't work that way. How you're meant to learn is through energy. That's how humans were created to learn. How do we know? Because humans, the perfect evidence, okay, the absolute perfect evidence of this is when someone tells you something, okay, about a whole story, about an experience, they went swimming at this one particular beach and they said it was amazing. And then someone else went there and they said it was crappy. Okay. You went and you experienced it. You felt the water, you felt whatever the ground was, whether it was rocky, sandy, doesn't matter. You felt it. So now you've learned, okay, you've had through experience. The problem with human beings is we believe that we learn by someone else telling us, by reading, by hearing about something. And this is where we're wrong. It's not learning, it's just a bunch of stuff you know. You haven't learned anything until you felt it. How do you feel it? By having the experience of it. It's like trying to explain what falling in love feels like if you've never fallen in love. You can't. It's impossible. So how do we continue to compare ourselves to others whom we think have more than we do, or, they have a better life or a better experience than we do? How do you know that? Because you're not experiencing what they're experiencing. But why were you trained to think that you should consistently be comparing yourself? That's the bigger question. Because if you're comparing yourself to others, you're not paying attention to you. You're not feeling the energy in the moment, which means you can't learn. You cannot learn if you're not in the energy. And that's what happens every time you say, I don't want to feel. I'm just going to be angry right now and I'm not going to feel anything. You better believe you're feeling something, but you're choosing not to pay attention. You're choosing to ignore the messages and the wisdom of your soul, the universe, and every universal being who literally has the ability to aid you, to guide you, to help bring you back into balance, which is healing, should you choose to receive that wisdom. So I'm going to leave that part with you, because that's what we're doing, right? That's what this whole story of creation is doing, is it's reminding you that you're not a thinker, you're a feeler. Your natural instinct is to participate in an experience that is bigger than you. You know that. That's why you're here. You want to make a difference in the world. It's innate in you. You're frustrated and continuously looking for a safe place to be able to make that impact in the world, right? So you're consistently waiting for other people to show up to tell you what you're doing is perfect. It's going to be okay. But we're not living in a world that says that. We're living in a world that is filled with judgment, so that you won't take initiative and you won't follow through on what you feel. Why? Because that's how you control and manipulate billions of people instantly. You make them feel like they're going to be judged. You take away that place, that illusion of, I don't love the word safety if you've worked with me, but that is the energy that they've taken away. They've created an illusion that we're not safe, right? When you have fear of judgment, but if you felt safe, you'd be able to say anything. You'd be able to share all your dreams, and you'd be able to share how you feel with those you love most. But we don't have that in this world. And who is the biggest culprit of taking that away? The government. That's how we learned. That's how we learned. Do you remember in school when you had to raise your hand to have an opinion? Yeah. It doesn't feel good. So what happens as we start to share this information, okay? And the way that I work is, my intention is always that you're going to receive whatever it is you are meant to receive. That's been my intention with my work since the beginning. And in doing so, I explore more aspects of creation, more aspects of existence and evolution. But the really cool thing is, the deeper I got into it. So purity is one of the 9 fundamental energies. And the deeper I got into exploring purity and removed so many aspects from my life, the more universal beings started showing up. They'd just show up and they'd start sharing and start talking. And so it's really interesting to me, because we've been talking about the story of creation. We've been talking about the manipulation of humanity. And 5 days ago, in the middle of the night, I woke up and there was this being, and he's standing in front of my face. And I'm like, oh. And mentally, there's he's not an attractive looking being to my brain. And so I'll just share with you what he looked like. So it's kind of like, when I look at him, it has like a skin texture, but it's like a white person, like my skin shade and tone, but it had like a red color underneath. Okay. But his face shape, it's kind of like, from Star Wars, Darth Vader, where he has that big mask on his head. So it looks like his face, this gentleman, this guy, this being's face, that's a better word, being, his face was in that shape, but it was cartilage that was shaping it. Okay. So, but it had like raised lines through it, and then, like that weird kind of shape. And I was like, okay. So you know, instantly I was like, oh, I've never met you before. His energy is very um, superior. I'm superior to you. And I was like, okay, who are you? But not out of a fear. There was zero fear. And that's the thing. Okay, guys, I really want you to understand is when you're communicating with universal beings, it doesn't have to be dramatic. You certainly don't need to go into a trance to receive information. You don't need to go into any kind of altered state of being. I've been doing this work a long time. I've seen a lot of crazy things. And I will say that I've worked with a lot of different communities, different spiritual perspectives, different native perspectives. And we have, again, going back to what we were talking about with the judgment aspect, we have a lot of judgments on how this information can be true. And so there's a lot of people who, they channel or they receive messages or they share it in a way that is dramatic so that people will believe the information, but they want to do it in a way that sort of removes them so that they become powerless to how the information's coming through. And I'm going to say that very clearly because here's the thing. I am not powerless, but I am choosing not to participate. I'm choosing to receive. I'm not interacting with the information, right? I don't want to mess with the information, which is why I spent, 15 years honing my capacity to hold the energy of universal purity, right? Because I wanted to make sure that the information that was coming through was pure, that I wasn't involved in it. Obviously, it's still going to have some of me because it's me. It's coming literally through my mouth, and the energy is coming through my vibration, my space. But my intention, because I had worked with other people who their stuff was there, it was 90% them and 10% message. And I went, ooh, that doesn't feel good. That's why we have those experiences that don't feel good, so that they can trigger us and let us know, hey, look, here's an opportunity for you to become more of who you are, for you to become better at extracting wisdom from the universe, because that's what we were created to do, right? That's how we participate in evolution. That's how we participate in exploring our potential, by being able to extract the information we need, right? If you want to go out and create something, you're going to need some information on all the aspects of that creation. That's what the universe gave you, right? That's the vibration and energy of love. Love is not about romance. It's about understanding you're connected to every aspect of universal existence that you could possibly, like, nothing is off limits, nothing. And everything you need is at your fingertips. All you have to do is set your intention and it comes to you. Anyways, so back to this dude. So he shows up in the middle of the night and so it's his skin is weird, like it's red along the rise parts, and it's, yeah, I mean, it's someone who certainly does not look like they've had any sun on their face. So it's just kind of, but here's the thing, when he showed up, he's like, I want to share my part, I want to share my role in the story of creation and the manipulation of humanity. And I'm like, okay, all right. So great. So you'll be in the next episode. That's how that went. That was literally how that conversation went. Shut it down and moved on. Because here's the thing. When you embody energy, and this is why I've shared everything I've shared since we've started this episode. When you embody purity, every being in existence wants to work with you. Why? Because they're not judged. And they can have an open conversation, because that's how universally we do it. It's only humans who believe we don't have this safe place to communicate. But we do. Everything is safe. There is nothing off limits. You can talk about anything and everything. The conversations I have had with universal beings have not only given me clarity on who I am and why I'm here, I understand the universe and existence better because I know their role. They've shared it with me. yes, through words, but through their energy, through their vision, right? It's when you connect energetically with them, it's like looking at their life through their own eyes. That's what energy communication is like. And so this is why I wanted to share with you, because it's not about being fearful when these beings show up. And it's about getting excited. We're going to learn more about the truth of what actually happened to the universe and to humanity. That's all I want to know. And the purity of my intention allows all these beings to show up. Okay. So he's here. And I guess that conversation went a little bit further because I was like, okay, who are you? And what did he say? God, there's a word. Oh, and I had it and now it's gone. So clearly it will come back when it needs to. But there's a word for them. It's not the reptilians, because we did those and they're like lizards. But they're funny because they're like squat and fat. But he's oh my gosh. It's funny. The word is not there right now for whatever reason. And I just trust that it will show up when it's meant to. But what's really interesting is what he's showing me is they were the beings behind the Roman Empire. And why this is so important is the Roman Empire is not what we've been taught. Oh boy. Okay. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things here that I've never explored and never talked about. So bear with me, because it usually takes me a little bit longer if I haven't met them and haven't talked to them before. And so, oh gosh, I'm like hot. I have a blanket on my lap. I'm going to have to take it off because I'm now very hot. So ultimately, these beings came in to lead a revolution. Their intention was to guide humanity away from so we were already away from our roots. So they weren't guiding us away from our roots. They were, because all the main core systems at that point had already been set up. And so they weren't guiding us away from our roots, but what they were doing was they were like the insurance policy. They were making sure our roots were going to be really hard to find after the original manipulation, and then they came in. So this concept of the Roman Empire, and what they are saying is it was more about cultivating that belief system that helped them win wars. And the foundation for winning wars became faith and religion. That was their whole goal. Everything they did and still do is about the foundations of religious beliefs. So this includes religious artifacts. This is really, really important. So this also, Masonic, oh boy, we're going to go into everything. This is fun. Masonic temples, yeah, it's great. Super fun Thursday morning for me. Okay. Right. So the Roman Empire and the Masonic belief system, so those two are linked in their entirety. Okay. So again, these guys were not the original manipulators. Those are much more, those are a different group. I do know who they are. I do understand all of that. And I will say that they are all of the Secret Service agencies around the entire world. Those are led by them. But the core one, I'm not at liberty at this point to share that information. However, Let's focus on these other guys. And there's a word for them. I can't remember their name. I know you guys will know it, and I will put it in the comments after because they shared it with me as soon as I got it. But they don't want me to. If I was supposed to share it right now, it would be here, which is fascinating to me. But these beings, their whole mission, their whole job was to rule the world, is how they're saying it. It's so simple. So the major manipulators didn't want to rule the world. They wanted to control the world. These beings wanted to rule the world. Okay. So control, right. And your brain is like, but that's the same thing, Michelle. No, it's not. Okay. So rule the world means you're out in front. You're in front of the people. You're the person telling them what to do. Those are your prime ministers and your presidents and the people who are in the front, right? The CEOs of companies, right? They're the rulers. They're the ones who are the face. That's the concept that they created, right? The whole, this is, you've got the highest, like the Pope, same thing, the face of whatever system, okay? Because the face of something, like think about war, okay? Who decides that you go to war? Who decides? Is it all the people who are in the military who are fighting? Are they the ones who decide to go to war? Nope. Not a goddamn chance in hell. Why? Because people don't want to fight. We follow people who believe in something. That's why it's so easy to manipulate humanity, is because humans genuinely want to love and respect and have compassion for each other. That's why. And that's what he's saying. That's how this happened, because humans will follow rulers. That's how the entire world, you look at the entertainment industry, there's someone ruling something. Why do you think that companies, right, who want their stuff out in the world want to have a spokesperson who's famous? So they send their things to them for free because that person rules that area of their existence. And so when they share something, people follow. Humanity have become followers in so many capacities because of this belief system. It's the same belief system that war was created on. I know that this is crazy, but when you can see the similarities, it's all exactly the same. The premise, the foundation is exactly the same. Your brain is wired to react to ruling, a ruler, right? What do we call them? We call them laws. That makes it look prettier. It makes it more final, right? Don't do that. There's a law against that. So we call each other out on it all the time. You know, we were grown up. We're grown up. As we were growing up, right? People would say different things to you. Don't do that. You'll get in trouble. Threats. It's all part of this Roman Empire, this whole dynamic of religious belief systems and following a ruler. Okay? They don't want to go into much more of that today. We're going to go deeper into it as we roll and unfold, but mostly what he wanted to share was that was it. That was his job, to create a concept of rulers and then empower those that they felt would be appropriate for the role, right, into those positions. So they're the masters of rulership. That's it. That's what they came here to do. Um, yeah, I still don't know their names. Doesn't matter. I know I'm gonna turn off the recording and I will remember it and it'll be awesome and it'll be funny. But it is understanding and recognizing that more than anything, we're revealing the truth about human existence. Okay. And to be honest, they don't technically have names. They don't. Humanity loves labels and titles, right? It's actually part of that's why they're not sharing their name. That's what they wanted me to get to. That's awesome. That whole rulership is based on names and labels. The whole concept of putting a label on someone, whether it's a medical label, whether it's, the certification that you got from your education system, all of those labels are all based on this concept of rulership that literally thrived the most during the Roman Empire and all religions. This is where everything came from, right? All of these religious beliefs, but also, like the Ark of the Covenant, like all of these items, right? That we have put so much value on, right? That our beliefs are, these anything. Like you just think about Jesus and the cross and, Jesus is even saying, like, he's like, that's not my life. That was not my life. That was not anything about what I came here to do and what I came here to share. He says, I came here to remind people to believe in themselves. It didn't work. It didn't work because they weren't ready yet. The whole thing got manipulated by these rulers. This comes back to this. And that's what the Bible is. It's a manipulation of the truths that Jesus shared when he was here, because his truths were that he was here to help humanity remember the truth of themselves. And these beings knew it. So they came in and manipulated it and made it into follow Jesus. Follow Jesus. Don't follow his word, follow Jesus. Praise Jesus. Praise the Lord. Because if you're praising someone else, again, you're not focused on your energy. You're not focused on universal intelligence and your access to it. You're focused on becoming passive, right? And you're here waiting for someone to come save you. That's that same concept of waiting for a safe place. Waiting for a safe place to share how you feel. Waiting for a safe place to follow your dreams, because maybe your partner doesn't believe in what you believe in. Maybe they don't believe in you and your dream. Maybe you don't believe in theirs. It's understanding that whole belief system came down through this particular stream of beings. They created it. They created a rulership belief system that ensured humanity became followers instead of leaders. How do you reclaim your leadership? By remembering how to feel energy. It's that simple. It's time. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. We have our live broadcast for as many people as we can around the world on September 5th of 2025. And it is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. All the details are on the website at michellevickers.com. I encourage you to share that event with your friends. But also, if you liked this, if you enjoyed what we're talking about, please comment, share. If you're watching on YouTube, follow. If you're watching on Facebook, join the community, because honest to goodness, this is a movement about humanity rising. This isn't about me. This isn't about competing against anything or anyone. It's about understanding that truth is right there for all of us. It exists beyond our belief systems, and it's available to everyone. My job is to help you remember it so that you can access it whenever you want. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Draconians! See? As soon as the recording stops, that's exactly it. That's fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to learn more, head on over to michellevickers.com. Join our mailing list to receive new episodes right to your inbox or apply to be a guest on the show. If this episode made you think of someone while you were listening, forward the link onto that person with a little note about why it made you think of them, because the greatest gift you can give another human is to see the beauty and purity of who they truly are. Until next time, stay curious.